My God, January 20th, 2025 just cannot get here fast enough. There is something, well, I mean, what am I even saying? We've known there's something wrong with this guy since day one, even before the debate where they tried to oust him and essentially execute a coup. This guy is not right in the head. It has become beyond embarrassing. His family, Dr. Jilski's, it is so abhorrent the way they are embarrassingly trotting this guy out and nobody's saying a thing. The emperor wears no clothes. Enough is enough. I'm going to show you a clip of President Joe Biden threatening a reporter who asked a simple question. Could you possibly get a ceasefire and get the hostages back from Israel before your term is over? Wait till you see that. Plus, I'm going to show you a couple of videos of tension where Dr. Jilski's, Miss, you did so good, Joy. You answered all the questions. Here's a cookie. Dr. Jilski's and the tension when Kamala shows up during the Veterans Day event yesterday. OMG, you can cut the tension with a knife. The hate is palpable and there is zero joy. Plus, we're going to talk about CNN and live stream media. That's the new name I have for them. It's not the mainstream media anymore. Live stream media. CNN is facing a huge batch of layoffs as ratings crater for not only CNN, but for MSNBC. There's a deal with Comcast to purchase MSNBC. I'm going to talk about that too. And then I'm going to share this amazing video from Tucker Carlson, who was interviewed not that long ago at this event, talking about the power of media and where it's headed. But first, check this out. I have to give you fair warning. This is extremely difficult to watch. It is just unreal how this guy has been, holding the highest office in the land in the last 4 years, and his absolutely dysfunctional, disorderly, completely egotistical, hubris-filled family has absolutely no gumption, no heart, no character to just say, Dad, Grandpa Joe, enough is enough. Hubby, it's all over. Check this out. His first enemy of the day, Joe Biden has a brand new enemy, sand. Check this out.
He's playing?
Yeah. He's playing.
He's trying too hard.
He's playing. God, Dr. Jill looks absolutely miserable. What happened, Dr. Jilski's? Where's all the joy?
Mr. President!
Mr. President, just a word.
Mr. President, what are you going to say to Trump on Wednesday?
The guys literally almost fall down like 5 times. I mean, come on, enough is enough. Just have this guy lay in bed, sign a few more documents, and then let's call it a day. I for sure don't want him to resign because there's no way in hell I want Kamala to become president. But for the love of God, does he need to keep making these appearances? Is there really any need for him to leave the White House or even to get out of bed at this point? Just let the guy relax. Here is, watch this. This is insane. Here is the first appearance since the resounding defeat. The people have spoken. Holy mackerel. The first appearance with Kamala and the President Joe Biden yesterday at the Veterans Day event honoring the veterans. Check out the tension here and then wait till you see what Dr. Jilski's does to Kamala. Holy mackerel. Watch this. That was a nasty glare. Present! Present! Where's the joy, guys? Okay, now watch this. The tension, the hate, the lack of joy is so palpable. You can feel it just bleed through the screen. Dr. Jilski's, okay, Kamala arrives at the balcony, and Dr. Jilski's doesn't even acknowledge her presence. Watch this. Doesn't even acknowledge that she's there. Doesn't once look over at her. Not once. Does she look over at her? And look at him. Look at him. Very awkward. Look at how tense Dr. Jilski's is. Here's a quick clip, just a close shot. Check this out. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Is it just me, or is that some serious hate between those two? She won't even acknowledge her presence. I mean, there is so much tension. You could cut it with a knife. Let me know in the comments what you think of that. Okay, so this is a little bit hard to hear, but I'll go through it. Maybe we'll watch it more than once. So a reporter asked, Mr. President, do you think you can get a ceasefire deal done by the end of your term? And Biden replies with this. Listen.
President Biden, do you think that you can get a hostage deal by the end of your term?
You think you can get hit in the head by a camera behind you? All right. Thank you all. Mr. President.
You think you can get hit in the head by the camera behind you? So he had a meeting with the president of Israel today, and the president of Israel was talking about how 2 innocent children died last night in an attack in northern Israel. And Biden, sat there shuffling, mumbling, stumbling like the vegetable that he is. And so at the end, this reporter just simply asked, I don't know, there didn't seem to be any sarcasm there. I don't know if the president is being sarcastic or if he sounds really, really angry. Again, I thought this was the party of tolerance, inclusivity, party of joy. So the reporter, again, we're going to watch it one more time. He says, Mr. President, do you think you can get a ceasefire deal done by the end of your term? And Biden says, do you think you can get hit in the head by the camera behind you? And then awkwardly segues to, okay, Mr. President. The president of Israel heard that, by the way. He was right there sitting next to him. So let's watch it one more time and just kind of get a taste for this. Watch.
President Biden, do you think that you can get a hostage deal by the end of your term?
You think you can get hit in the head by a camera behind you? All right. Thank you all. Mr. President.
What? What? Was that... I'm so confused. Was that meant to be a joke or something, Mr. President? You just violently threatened a reporter for asking a very simple, pertinent, relevant question to the actual context of you meeting with the president of Israel? And actually something that would, a very poignant, normal question that actually has a lot of weight to it. It could actually add a lot of veneer and maybe even a little respect, dare I say, to your abysmally failed administration by getting something done before you turn into a vegetable and rot to death. What was that? You tell me in the comments. What in the world was that? In other news, mainstream, or as I like to call them affectionately, live stream media. Ooh, karma is real, my fellow Americans. Karma is real, my fellow patriots, Nez Nation. Live stream media is facing the biggest drop in ratings. Thank God the truth shall prevail that they've experienced in decades. And now CNN has announced that they're going to be making major league layoffs due to the fact that they're losing credibility, that they're losing majorly in the ratings race, and even some of its top players like Anderson Cooper, Aaron Burnett, even the resoundingly abysmal, inept Katie Collins might be facing some serious woes and job security in the very, very near future. Comcast has announced that they're going to be selling off. There's a really high likelihood of Comcast, which owns MSNBC, which is to me the worst propagandist out of all of them. CNN is bad, but at least they have people like Scott Jennings, and they sometimes have a counterpoint on there that I enjoy seeing. I'll give him a little molecule of credit there, but there's nothing as bad that will actually give airtime to the worst broadcaster, the least qualified DEI hired, the personification, besides Kamala, of the poison cancer that DEI is, the discriminatory, racist ideologies that back DEI. There isn't a more perfect case study than Joyless Reed. It gives me such great pleasure to know that she could be out of the job soon, because in all joking and kidding aside, they have done such a detriment to the American public. They have done nothing but spew a litany of sewage lies over and over that have actually caused people to lose their mind. We are seeing a mass hysteria on the level since Trump's win on Tuesday like we've never seen before. One guy even, and I can't even mention this, but he essentially did something awful to himself and his family. Hint, hint, I can't say it or they'll deplatform me, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Due to the fact that Trump won. And I point the finger directly at the live stream media for spreading the Nazi, Hitler, Mussolini, fascist garbage. He's a threat to democracy time and time again in their ceaseless, endless, relentless pursuit of spreading the worst kind of lies and gaining the kind of agenda that they want to see, or at least that they're paid to propagate to make sure that the powers that be get to see. You would think that they would take just a tiny scotch of accountability, just a little self-introspection and reflection. So, you know what, guys, this is a sign. We need to do something different. We need to change the game. We need to actually do some real reporting. We need to follow the precepts of journalistic integrity for just once. Let's just try it. Let's just see how it feels. No, listen to what the highly inept, highly unqualified doofus, Howard the Duck, Brian Stetler says on CNN is the reason why there's a distrust in media. Watch this.
But I want to recognize that for all the flaws of the mainstream media, and we have a lot of them, it's not just the media's fault that trust has been declining for decades. It's also decades of attacks by politicians.
That is the main issue. It could be that the Washington Post is endorsing candidates, or it could be that there are millions of voters who believe lying politicians who tell them lies.
Liars are lecturing us on lies. Can you even imagine that? Well, the beautiful thing is that we live in a free enterprise, free market system in the capitalistic system of the United States of America, and the market has spoken. I want to share this data here on how podcasting, independent media, grassroots organizations like our channel here that you're watching and listening on did in this amazingly clarifying chart here. Did podcasting play a role in the 2024 election? Sit-down podcast appearances outside of live stream media news. If you look here, Trump did 14 podcast appearances. Harris did 5. Total views, 99 million for Trump. A lot of that came from, at least 50% of that, it seems like, came from the Joe Rogan podcast, which Harris declined to do, actually in her bougie, narcissistic, condescending way, which is highly congruent with the entire Democratic Party. She actually told Joe Rogan, no, you need to abide by me. You need to come to me, only give me an hour. You need to set up, follow me around. You need to come to where I am, where Trump went over to where, as is always the case when you do the Rogan podcast, went to Rogan, did a full 3 hours, did not take one single break, answered all his questions and had a real conversation with Joe Rogan. The difference is absolutely massive. But the vice presidential candidates, if you look at Vance did 6 podcast appearances with Waltz's 3. Look at the views. Almost 15 million views. J.D. Vance also went on the Joe Rogan Experience. So half of those views came from that alone. Look at Waltz. 64,000 views on podcasts. That is a huge glaring difference right there. I mean, we're talking not even 0.1% did Tampon Tim get the same kind of reach, engagement that J.D. Vance is. A lot of people will say, too, that after J.D. Vance did Rogan, a lot of people got a really clear picture. My wife, who I call the greatest judge of character on planet Earth, for obvious reasons, she actually said, all kidding aside, she said, man, I didn't really think that this J.D. Vance was all that or even really an interesting pick until I heard him on Rogan. He's a very likable, real, honest person. That right there tells you everything. My fellow Americans, it is becoming increasingly clear that the media landscape has changed. Thank God. Who knows how long the live stream media has been peddling lies? It probably goes back so far that we don't even want to know the answer to that question. And I think probably the biggest mistake, amongst a million other things, that the Kamala Tampon Tim team executed was they refused to go on the number one show on planet Earth, and that is the Joe Rogan podcast, without a doubt. And if you don't want to take my word for it, take it from somebody who I think articulates The power of Rogan, the power of media, from somebody who's been ensconced within it for literally his whole life. His father was in journalism and reporting as well, and broadcasting. This clip is so powerful and to me exemplifies the direction and trajectory of where people are getting their information, where people are tuning in. Listen to Tucker Carlson, our man, the man himself. Listen to what he says. Check this out.
Rogan created that. I talked to Rogan today, actually. Amazing guy. But I just want to say one word about Rogan. I've been in the media, as I said, my whole life. Rogan was like a sitcom actor and a stand-up comedian and like an MMA fighter. Okay, so he starts this thing called a podcast where he talks for like 3 hours. I'm in television at like a big network, and I'm looking over at this being like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You know, no one's going to listen to a 3-hour podcast from some MMA fighter. I know, right. And this guy's not even in our business. Like, what's he doing? He completely changed not just American media, but American history. He created a whole new, I mean, it would be like this one guy invented the newspaper or television. I mean, that's how big what Rogan did was. And I just will admit freely that I did not see it coming. I did not understand it. I didn't think it would work. And the fact that it did work says something so great and important about Americans, which is they really want to learn. They're not learning in school. They're not learning in the rest of the media. It's all shallow and dumb and about race and gender. It's all lying. And Rogan's just like willing to sit there with interesting people and talk for 3 hours. That was the most affirming, that is the most reassuring thing I've ever seen in 35 years in media, that worked.
Yeah.
And so I'm thrilled by Rogan. I'm proud to be his friend, and I really admire him more than anybody in media.
I just want to tell you a really quick story that I think will be a great follow-up to what Tucker said. You know, I was teaching in the marketing department at a pretty big university. This was about 10, 15 years ago. And it was kind of the beginning of me sort of engaging in content creation, media, online marketing, etc. You know, I was starting my online consulting business, etc. And I would, be driving, and this school was pretty far. This university that I was teaching in the marketing department was pretty far from our house. And so it was a good 30, 35-minute drive, maybe even longer with traffic in California, my God. So each way, it was a good maybe 30, 45 minutes. On the way home, it was probably even more, maybe even an hour due to traffic. And so I would listen to podcasts because the radio, there was no way of, getting specificity or sort of a specialist kind of program on radio. Whereas as podcasts, I can connect my phone to my car and I can listen to the podcast that I want to. And I can literally type on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. And I would type in, how do you market? How do you start a business online? Because that was when online businesses were fairly still a new thing. And here I am teaching at the marketing department. And I'm looking at the curriculum of this renowned business department, business school at a university. And I'm saying to myself, my gosh, they're teaching things that absolutely have no relevance to not only the world now, but definitely no relevance to where the world is going to be 10, 20, 30, 100 years from now. What I was listening to on the podcast from actual subject matter experts, the people who were actually doing it, not people pontificating in a lecture hall, just talking about it. People who've never started a business, never ran a marketing division or department, etc. But from the people who are actually in the thick of it, in the arena, what I was learning in that drive back and forth was so unbelievably disparate from what they were talking about in the universities. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, my God, education is not only failing our kids, saddling them with almost irrecoverable debt, but it's not teaching them a single thing that maps to the real world. And that was kind of my first tippy toe, injection into creating our own media company and podcasting, YouTube, et cetera, video, audio. And I've never looked back ever since. And I couldn't agree more with Tucker Carlson. And I'm so glad that you guys are here. This is the beauty of the market. The market gets to decide. If you don't create quality content, you are finished. It doesn't matter if you're a celebrity. It doesn't matter how long people have known you. It doesn't matter if you've got a great track record. If you haven't done anything for me lately, to quote the great Miss Jackson, you're finished. So bye-bye Joyless Reed. Bye-bye talentless Katie Collins. I hope this is a huge wake-up call. Also, Chris Wallace left CNN saying he's 77 years old. He left CNN saying, I'm going to go into podcasting because that's where it's at. This is where it's at. What you're watching and listening, you're in the right place. And I love you. And do not think for a second that it is lost upon me that you giving your time to me is the most treasured thing you can give me. Time is the greatest gift you can give to anybody because you can never get a refund on your time. And I promise you, I pledge my allegiance to the truth and to creating the best, most accurate reporting and commentary that you've ever seen. And I'm going to get better and better. I'm open to suggestions. Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. Check out these videos over here if you haven't seen these videos. I just posted them recently. Tap my face right there to subscribe and follow. It's free. Also in the pinned comment is our free newsletter. Just sign up and you get everything. It's kind of like your insurance policy. And as always, may God bless you and may God bless America. I'll see you soon.